What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, giving you another week of what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan, joined by my trusty co-host Dave Martin Swagger. Dave, how you doing, man?
I'm a trusty STEM player, ready for this podcast, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay. We were actually together this weekend, tearing it up at a wedding, which was a lot of
Rare.
fun. Shout out to the Richmonds. Uh, Real quick, I wanted to ask you because they had a live band, played a wide variety
Yes.
of music.
Yeah.
What was your favorite song that they played this weekend?
That's a great question. In general, a good band. They did a really good job.
Mhm.
And like you said, a nice range of contemporary stuff, throwback stuff, throw even more retro stuff. It was a good, really good mix. Huh, that's tough. I didn't expect them to play Levitating, Dua Lipa. That was really cool.
Yeah. Although they did
Um,
play the baby version.
yeah, that was disappointing for sure.
Unnecessary.
Um, Yeah, I mean, Uptown Funk was like their third song, and I was like, "Oh shit, they're setting the bar high."
I
You know,
know.
they did a really
Mm,
good job.
They pulled it out early. I think the moment that got everybody going though was the Killers, Mr. Brightside, man. I mean,
Mhm.
how is that song still just doing that to white people at weddings?
That's what it does. That's totally what they thought of when they were making that song. That is
And they
just
nailed it.
white people crack.
Yeah, shout out to the Richmonds. Awesome time this weekend. Great to hang out with buds. If you want to hear us talk more about the weddings that we go to, hit that subscribe on youtube.com/slash nostalgia pod. Give us that 5 stars, that rating on Spotify. Dave, we're going to start today. We got some music, some TV, and some movies, and a movie to get to. But we're going to start today with somebody that I saw you tweeting about. I hadn't listened to the album yet, so I went in with high expectations. This is Central Cee, another British rapper, and you were tweeting about him for a good reason. It seems like you felt like this album mixtape, whatever it is,
Yeah,
23, was a pretty strong showing for him. Is that right?
that is right. Yeah, the second Central C mixtape, second in less than a year. Central C only been kicking it for like less than 2 years total, but has really blown up out of West London. Huge chart presence over in the UK, just coming off a bunch of Brit Award nominations, and is the face of UK drill right now, just a rapidly ascending force. And now we have that second mixtape from him. Both of these are self-released too, which is pretty cool to see. So he's definitely making the bag here. But two mixtapes in, I think it's the hype is definitely warranted because he's just, I think, just bringing a really high quality to a scene that's been getting a lot of attention already. So the fact that he's standing out, I think, really speaks to something.
I felt like this album, while not my favorite album, uh, certainly had some really high moments, and especially it lost a little bit of momentum for me in the middle, but the beginning and the ending I felt like had some really strong stretches. And what I think impressed me more was Central C's ability to stay true to that drill sound that you talked about, but also kind of make it sound a little more poppy, a little bit more
Mm.
like radio friendly sounding. So I just was pretty impressed, especially for someone that this is only their second mixtape. Tell me about the things that really impressed you most on this.
Yeah, well, I think even like going back to that first mixtape, Wild West, some of the production choices are really cool because like it's still obviously like drill music. And I think like Central C's flow, his performance is really consistent as as drill hip hop goes. But sometimes the production can, I think, stand out in unique ways. Like back on Wild West, Loading 20's got a lot of attention, one of his first singles for like really noticeable horns within drill music. Obviously, we know drill music, dark, gloomy, ominous sound is what you think of for like the brand of drill production. But I think he's kind of finding a way to bring something new to it in terms of the sound. Young Chenks is the producer who made 9 of the 15 tracks off 23. Seems to have a nice creative cohesion going on there. Most famously, of course, would be Obsessed with You, his biggest hit to date, which was the lead single up for this 23 tape. And of course, samples Pink Pantheress's Just For Me. Pink Pantheress, of course, gigantic TikTok artist, gigantic star in 2021. So it makes sense that Obsessed With You using that sample would be successful as well. And that also speaks to like the more pop leaning you can get from someone still operating in that drill space. Retail Therapy on this new tape also like really noticeable saxophone use within that beat. So I think there's just lots of cool flourishes going on here. And I think if Central Cee can continue to grow with his music, I mean, obviously there's so much to like already. If he can continue to grow his individual performances on top of that, like clearly the production, clearly the sonic ideas are already here. So I would expect lots of continued growth because obviously there's so much attention on him already that he's going to get, a lot of support. And I'm sure the labels are trying to knock down his door at this point, but he hasn't bitten yet. So he's taking his time, which is cool. But I think there's a lot of things to like song to song. I agree. Like there's some, moments in the middle where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is just like another song I just heard. But overall, there's just a lot of, I think, positive qualities here.
Definitely. You mentioned two of the tracks I was referring to when I was talking about that more like poppy sound, Retail Therapy for sure. And obviously Obsessed With You. But Terminal 5, right before Obsessed With You, I think also has that like those horns that just feel like something you could hear on almost any radio station in the country. Also like the gunshot sounds put in there just made me laugh because I just thought it was like a kind of a throwback, like a throwback sound to throw in there for rap. But also, I mean, his willingness to try things like Eurovision, bringing in some non English speaking people to be on the track, I thought was interesting, and it didn't feel like super out of place, even though it definitely stood out, which I thought was a testament to him because that song could have felt very much like, oh, I'm just gonna put this this non-English speaking track out there just to kind of like see how it goes, but it felt like it still belonged. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What did you think of that track?
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool just for that reason. Like looking at the track list, I'm like, okay, there's the posse cut. Don't recognize any of these names. And you listen to it and you're like, oh, wait, the reason I don't recognize any of these names is because they're not British rappers either. Mm-hmm. Italian, Spanish, I think, elsewhere in Europe primarily. Really cool to see something like that. Obviously, a great look for all those guys too. Yeah, it's just an inspired thing to do. Really cool. I mean, even something else like Habib, the first track, has a music video. In that music video, he's like hiking and like on top of mountains and shit. I'm like, you know what? This is also really fucking great for a visual. Gotta be honest. It's simple yet effective. Yeah, I think honestly one of my favorite songs though, just kind of a straight drill joint. Straight back to it, man. Something about the British accent, straight back to it, it just sounds so good on that hook, which is really catchy. So
yeah, that also has a pretty classic like music video for a rapper, but it still looks pretty awesome. So I agree, definitely one of the standout tracks to me as well. Yeah. Drill when it hits, it really just fucking hits, man.
Yep. Yeah.
Any other standouts?
Yeah, I just shout out the last track, End of the Beginning, co-written and co-produced by Dave, arguably the biggest UK rapper right now. Obviously, that's a really meaningful cosign. But yeah, I'd say Central Cee, man, get on board because they're already on board in the UK. So we just gotta see where it goes now because the bona fides are here. They're established.
We'll be adding a track or two to our Nowstalgia Best of 2022 playlist. Follow that on Spotify. Let's move on to EarthGang. Dropping, I guess this is their second album technically, but I mean, in terms of projects, they've been doing a lot of stuff.
Second Dreamville album.
They've been putting out Spillage Village records, which or I guess only one, but or is it, they've done two? I think
they had like the debut Spillage Village album Spillage in 2020, and there was like other like Spillage Village mixtapes back in the day. Just like there's a myriad other EarthGang projects, of course. When around their first Dreamville album Mirrorland came out, we also had Revenge of the Dreamers 3, the Dreamville label album. So EarthGang's been pretty busy the past 3 years or so. That's without question probably the third third pillar of Dreamville, or third or fourth pillar of Dreamville artists. You know, J. Cole, Jid, EarthGang, Ari Lennox. That's kind of your big four right now. So uh, I feel like they really settled in to being part of Dreamville, and at this point, they seem really comfortable and confident in their music and their sound. And this new record, Ghetto Gods, kind of doubling down on like we're an Atlanta duo, and we've been making Atlanta trap for a long time, but we still have our own spin, our own voice, and that's pretty evident on this second Dreamville album. So I don't know if I was wowed though. Like it didn't necessarily change my opinion of EarthGang, but it's definitely more EarthGang. It's not like they took a step back.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I would say wowed is the right term, but I definitely just left being like, this is a really solid track, or a really solid project, I should say. Um, a couple of songs particularly stood out, but there were also some like head scratching moments and just kind of like I'm not really sure what to make of this. And I think that's kind of what EarthGang goes for. Like their whole aesthetic is they're really solid, but they do things that are certainly unique. Even like the cover of the album has this like very like creepy vibe to it. These kids on a chain link fence, their eyes are glowing. There's more of them in the background, kind of faded out. So that they're definitely going for something here, which I don't know if it totally lands, but I definitely really liked some of these songs. So, yeah, one of the first songs that stood out to me was actually the third track, Billy, with Future. But it's funny because I think if you just chop off the Future part, the track is fucking awesome. Once he comes in, I literally just hit skip because I was like, this just he didn't need it. I don't know. Did you feel the same way?
Totally. Future sounds like he's on a different song. There's
Mm-hmm.
like a bit of a beat switch, and his flow's
Yes.
completely different, mumbling, doing Future things as you expect. It just doesn't match the high energy, high up tempo verses you just got from Olu and Wow Great on the rest of the track. I like the flows. I like the verses. I still don't love the Billy hook though. I feel like if that hook was something else, wasn't quite as repetitive, that would be like A1 banger. When you chop off Future. Still though, the verses were good enough. I think that's still my favorite track on this. I think, despite some quibbles I have. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny like to have you have Future. I understand why he's there again. Atlanta guys, Atlanta record, Atlanta sound. Why not have the biggest guy in Atlanta? Makes sense, but like it just doesn't match the
No, it
rest of the
doesn't
track at
match at
all.
all. Yeah, no. So that one stood out to me, and then immediately you get the Jid and J Cole team up with Earth Gang on Water Boys, which I think is also a really solid track, and just kind of allows all of them to do their own thing. Um, once again, like I hear Jid and I hear J Cole, and I'm like, yeah, they're always solid when they pop on, but I don't think the track blew me away like I was kind of hoping it would when I first saw them on it.
Yeah, not quite to the level of some of those past J. Cole features in the
Mm-mm.
past few years leading up to the off season where he was like completely untouchable. Even though he says no more off season on that verse. Probably B plus tier Cole
Yeah.
feature given what we've had. I also wanted more from Jid on that, honestly, and we had that lead single from him, Surround Sound, earlier in January. Really looking forward to that next Jid album, just in general. And this feature definitely left me wanting more. That's for sure.
What other tracks stood out to you?
Yeah, I thought Amen was pretty
Yeah.
good. Music Soul Child, really good chorus on that. I think that one stands out. And yeah, that's probably the best one. I guess All Eyes on Me, kind of a shorter track, but I really like the Earth Gang verses on that one too.
Mhm.
But
I liked
yeah, go ahead.
I liked Lie to Me. I felt like it had like a funkier vibe to it. Just really stood out from the rest of it. Um, Actually, I'm trying to figure out like which artist it kind of reminded me of. It almost, uh, I don't know. I'm like blanking on maybe like a ghost face, type
Mm,
thing. I don't know,
sure.
like vibe to it. Um, but yeah, the the rest of the album just kind of left me with some head scratchers. I guess Ari Lennox at the end coming in on for Run to the closer. It's always nice to hear her show up. I feel like she's just kind of always bringing the same stuff, and it's always really good. But the track I really wanted to ask you about, probably the second, third, and fourth most famous people on this, Nick Cannon and CeeLo. I guess maybe Nick Cannon's the most famous person on this. I don't know.
Perhaps.
Power. What did you think of that track? That was just a total head scratcher to me.
Yeah, definitely a weird one. Kind of like the Future feature. In theory, having CeeLo Green, another pioneer of Atlanta rap, obviously dating way back, would have made sense if the song was different, but it doesn't really hit the way they intended, I don't think. And Nick Cannon, it's like, I don't think we need Nick Cannon waxing about much of anything, given how hectic his personal life is all the time. So yeah. Not the message I think was intended. That's at least didn't land for me.
Yeah, it's funny when you see CeeLo. Do you think about him rapping?
No, not lately. I mean, this is like 15 plus years ago. You'd have to be thinking of. So, and any young people listening to that probably have no knowledge of that. But like CeeLo is Dungeon Family, like really like OG Atlanta stuff. If you go back.
Yeah, I was almost just expecting him to do the Gnarls Barkley stuff and be singing the hook on this when I first saw it. But
right,
yeah, it was interesting to get that. Any other thoughts on EarthGang or?
No, I mean just kind of like Mirrorland. It's like I never loved their full lengths, but like there's always moments or individual songs that I always really appreciate about them. And even if I never like love what they do, still really cool because like they clearly have their own voice and outlook on their music, and Dreamville seems to be a great home for them. So really happy to see that. And also just a cool note, this album was supposed to come out on January 28th, and they pushed it back a month. And the interim, they actually were kind of performing these songs on Ghetto Gods at a bunch of shows for like their most loyal fans as like sneak previews, viral marketing kind of thing. So that's cool. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, to me, it's just more EarthGang.
Yep, more EarthGang for sure. We also got more Kanye West this weekend, and you talk about viral marketing, Dave.
Hey.
This is Donda 2, which we were told was going to come. It came, but not in the way
22,
but not in the way that most albums come. Kanye dropped this on what was it called?
Stem player. Proprietary music device, basically, that had previously existed.
Yeah.
But eschewing digital streaming platforms because, as Kanye put it, they keep most of the money, and the labels get the money too. And on one hand, that's consistent with how Kanye has been talking lately about the industry and artists not getting their fair share. However, and in the process, he self-released this album. That's probably the way he was able to do this without putting it on major platforms. On the other hand, though, asking your fans to buy a $200 device to listen to the album legally, as the artist intended, is also not really the solution. So it's perplexing and a new way for Ye to virally market himself, I suppose. I don't know, but if you're not interested in $200 stem players, there are other methods, as I'm sure people are aware.
And there was a concert on, I think it was Valentine's Day as well, and I don't know,
in Miami.
There's all this stuff, it's like put on IMAX. You can stream it through YouTube. A lot of hype around this. And then I guess like initially like 4 tracks released, and the next 12 are released.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you can hear my voice, I've had very little time for this Kanye shenanigans this time around. Not only was I not super interested in hearing Donda 2 just from the start, especially after the first Donda, while having some highs, it has left me mostly just like disappointed in what we got. And I know that you are in that same boat with me. But then, Kanye has been very much public with his relationship with Julia Fox recently. Just feels like whenever Kanye is rushing the music out, it's never good anyway, at least recently. So wasn't super excited for this. And now we've gotten Donda 2. Dave, I mean, was this worth it? I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, like you said it, he's done this a bunch of times, but he arguably did it in the worst fashion yet, but Kanye West once again rushed out a record. And in this case, ask the people who saw the live show in Miami. I mean, there was myriad sound issues with that. Even the live event was rushed in a certain sense. Just basic stuff wasn't right. Like the cues for people coming in were wrong. The bass levels were completely off. Disappointing again, because flashback to just December, post Donda, in December, him and Drake did that Larry Hoover concert in LA, which you can watch on Amazon. And that got a huge reception. People really like that. It's really cool. And had like the classic, like unique visuals for Kanye doing his Sermon on the Mount effectively, but still playing basically all the hits that everyone loves, right? Even when Future brought him out of Rolling Loud LA in December, comes out to Can't Tell Me Nothing. Fucking great. He still sounds awesome. But then Julia Fox stuff happens, which is fine on its face, but the Julia Fox stuff happens, the Pete Davidson stuff happens, the Kim stuff continues. And then an album's supposed to come out. I've been seeing all the Julia Fox stuff. He ain't been in the studio, man. He's been at fucking Fashion Week. Yeah. He's been a famous person. And I feel like we can count how many sessions he did because there's only so many photos. And you get what you put in, and like he's just not operating at a high enough level right now to have this kind of lack of tact and like approach. In the case of Donda last year, as we said in our review, youtube.com/nostalgiapod, in the case of Donda, he couldn't censor himself. He couldn't cut down the bloat. And he got in the way of some cool moments and some cool ideas. This time around, he just didn't give himself time to come up with enough ideas. It's kind of the opposite problem. I mean, there's tracks on Donda too, where he's barely on the song, in the case of songs that have features. And it's just really perplexing. And this is clearly worse than Ye. This is worse than Jesus is King. This is the worst Kanye record. But it should have been the worst Kanye record because he clearly barely tried on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you summarized it well. I mean, I guess I'm just sitting here thinking where like the guy, and this is a question that we can't really answer, and I really don't want to look into, but just thinking about when we first started the podcast, one of the reasons we wanted to start it when we did was Life of Pablo was supposed to be dropping. We wanted to do a deep dive into Life of Pablo and be talking about that record. And we had to wait for it because Kanye was in the studio making sure things sounded perfect. Now, is Pablo a perfect album without any blemishes or bloat? No. I mean, it's the beginning of late stage Kanye where you're getting a lot of music and not all of it is good. But he, at least at that point, really cared about what he was putting out, making it sound interesting. Mixing in new and inventive sound with the old school chopping up the samples and mixing things together in ways that no one had ever heard. This is just uninteresting music at this point. And at least with the Kanye record, even on Donda, there were moments where things sounded very I don't know, uninventive. But there were also moments when you left and you were like, holy shit, like that's a fucking music moment. And I think I had maybe like 2 or 3 moments on this where I was like, okay, that track sounded competent. And that's really disappointing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, last year, even though I didn't like Donda as an album, Hurricane featuring The Weeknd Little Baby was my song of the year. Like, he still has it in him sometimes, but I don't think any of those times really showed up on this. Like, there's some cool things I noted. I thought the Kim sample on Sci-Fi actually was pretty enjoyable. Kind of smart use of that, even if he cuts her off before Kim explains why she would be divorcing Kanye. Regardless, I think that was a nice sample. Get Lost, cool like vocoder vocal effects, I guess.
I just wrote ... next to them, my notes, because I don't even know if that's cool or not. It's just like silence with distorted vocals.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, my favorite track on this is We Did It, Kid, with Baby Keem, Quavo, and Offset. But that's this track where Kanye is literally there for like 3 bars.
Yep.
And why would he ever put out a song like that? Honestly, it's an awesome Migos performance. Quavo and Offset sound great, going back and forth, bar for bar. Obviously, Kanye has censored them, but they still sound awesome and completely steal the track.
Do we just
but
need Kanye to produce a Migos album at this point? Is that what we need?
perhaps Migos could
Fix
certainly
everybody's
use a
problems?
switch of switching up the juice a little bit too.
Ugh.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like we have 2 XXX Tentacion features. That's coming off of X being featured on Yandi leaked track that never came out. I mean, X died over 3 years ago, man. We're done with these. There's nothing left. Like they don't add anything because they
The
are literally
orange has been
scraps.
juiced. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, We Did It was by far the track that stood out most to me. City of Gods been released as the lead single with Fivio 4, and I think Fivio sounds great on it,
Yep.
honestly.
Making good on
really
Off the Grid from last year. Really excited for that upcoming album from Fivio more than anything else.
Yeah, and really, I think a really cool nod. Apparently, when he first got this track from Kanye, he said, like, I'm not the king of New York. Kanye told him that you have to say you're the king of New York. And then he gave the, Pop was the king of New York. Now I'm in charge line. Just iconic,
That's
fucking
great.
way to pay tribute to Pop and also establish yourself or at least lay your claim. I guess the only other tracks that really I found even somewhat worth talking about is Pablo too. I kind of liked Pablo.
Yeah.
Thought it was all right. I'm really stretching to get anything else here, but everything just felt very flat.
On Keep It Burning, one of the songs with Future, on Keep It Burning, there's like a Talking Heads sample, burning down the house.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the bar is very high for Kanye using samples in cool ways, so it's more like, hey, look, there's a sample, more than anything else. It's not like it was amazing. Yeah, I mean, you got a Soulja Boy feature at the end, first time in a long time. That's just notable because Soulja Boy got really mad when he didn't make Donda. He had laid a verse down for Remote Control. Kanye pays it back now, but it's not like it's a good song or anything. Also
Soulja
notable,
Boy.
like right now, him and Cudi have fallen back out, which is just sad. Hopefully he stays on good terms with Drake, I guess. But
Cudi is the only thing that's made Kanye's records worth really noting in recent years with Kids See Ghosts, man. I mean,
yeah, Father Stretched My Hands.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really sad. I mean, what did you think of Louis bags? Kind of saying we don't buy Louis bags since Virgil died.
I stopped buying Louis bags after Virgil passed. Awesome line, but it's not a hook. You didn't write the rest of the song.
All just
frustrating.
Yep. I mean, so at this point, who knows what we're going to get from Kanye? Probably as most unpredictable right now. Does have like we said, Julia Fox as his muse.
I think they've already split actually.
Oh,
it's
really?
already stopped. Yeah, last week or something. Yeah.
Just the best thing we got from that by far is her quote to call her daddy. I was Josh Safdie's muse in Uncut Joms. Just a all-time TikTok sound. So shout out to Ye for that, I suppose. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to go away for a while. To take some time, take care of yourself, figure out your shit with Kim or your own stuff and whatever you're directing towards your ex-wife, and come back maybe inspired later on. I don't know.
Right.
Just a quick anecdote. As I'm preparing for my own wedding, I was like, which Kanye song am I going to pick out? And me and my fiance took a half hour yesterday just playing Kanye songs and this one would be fucking great to drop. I want to hear this one. And it's all 2016 and earlier.
Right.
I don't know if there's anything worth caring about this guy at this point.
Check out our
artist.
Right, I agree. Check out our Kanye West album rankings, youtube.com/nostalgiapod. We talked a lot more about the albums we like a lot more than Donda 2. So, yeah. And one last note too. Calling this Donda 2 kind of stupid because there's nothing about his mom on this, which actually was the case on Donda 1. Despite its problems, there was still a lyrical through line there. Not the case with Donda 2. Stupid name. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it costs $200 and is not easily clickable on Spotify is probably for the best because less people are going to hear it and be disappointed.
Another thing that's been disappointing us, Dave, is Killing Eve in recent seasons. Funny enough, watching the premiere of season 4, I realize I don't even remember much of season 3 at all. Like, I don't even, did we even do an end of season 3 review?
Oh, we did, yes, and people watched that one quite a bit. Thanks for that. But it was almost 2 years ago. It ended in like spring 2020, so it had been a while. Obviously, COVID delays, but yeah, I also needed some refreshing on the plot comings and goings of Killing Eve, because as we expounded upon last time around, Killing Eve has jumped the shark in a certain sense. With the plot especially, but even just like the overall like structure of the series, and we're very far from the central conceit of season 1, which made season 1 so excellent, the cat and mouse thriller. It's kind of ballooned past that with a larger cast and a greater emphasis on Villanelle as like a co-lead. So season 4, too early to say if we're going to get that fixed. It's the final season also, but yeah, I mean, I was coming in with low expectations just because I was really disappointed in seasons 2 and 3.
Well, how did the premiere? How did the premiere like fit in with those expected? I don't know, liking or not liking of the season. Like, did you feel like it maybe brought you in a little bit more, or did it kind of just do more of the same?
I am interested in. There seems to be maybe a slight shift of the focus back to Eve a little bit. I'm not. Maybe it's too early to say that because there's still a lot of Villanelle in this, but it's almost like they're kind of flipping the script, and like Villanelle is trying to like completely remove herself from her assassin past, whereas Eve is like super focused on the detective work and determining where the 12 are and stopping them and all that shit. And I just don't know if the dynamic is gonna like get back to what it was, because the original premise was simple, but it was just so flawless. And like it was kind of like a less is more thing with Jodie Comer as Villanelle, whose performance is so good. And like I don't know if I'm like super invested in like Villanelle going through her inner turmoil and like figuring out her new purpose in life. On the other hand, it is cool to see her basically having visions of herself as Jesus. Like that is kind of inspired. So maybe it'll just get weirder. I guess that's something.
Yeah. I gotta say, I don't even know if I really understand how we got to where we got with Eve. Like she starts off and she's working for the was it MIA
MI5,
my
not
five
anymore though.
my Men in Black. Yeah, not anymore. But when we first meet her in the first season, she is, and
Right.
but she's really not like a badass. She's kind of like
No.
behind the scenes person, and now she's like riding up on a motorcycle to like town hall in some other country and like
Yeah.
shooting what's
Constantine.
his name? Yeah, Constantine to the hand, like ruthlessly. I don't know, man. Like she's
When I
really
saw that, I thought it was a dream or something. I didn't know it was
right.
supposed to
Yeah.
be taken literally. I was like, oh shit, she's like, now she's on working for some third party security firm or something and taking matters into her own hand. And okay, I guess so. I mean, she'd been active in seasons 2 and 3, kind of, jet setting around doing things. But I guess there's more of a combat emphasis now. We'll see. Yeah, it's just tough, man, because like the plot, it just was just so off the rails in season 3. There were so many extraneous characters that just didn't land and took too much time away, and there's just a general bloat. And meanwhile, the overall like big bad of the 12 is just so lackluster and faceless. And hopefully, like Camille Cotein's presence, who she was in season 3 too, hopefully she can like add some kind of like face and like presence to the villainy, because once Villanelle stopped being the main face of the villainy, I just kind of lost it. It's like, and Carolyn with going back to Russia now, taking matters into her own hands again, defecting in a certain sense. Like
I mean, do you
it's
even really
just
care about the 6 or the 12?
no.
I mean, no,
We've
no one
never had a
cares about the
chance to
12.
care about them. We like it's just what like Carolyn and Constantine have told us. It's always been so nebulous, and now it's been such a big focus of like the plot for so long that like I was skeptical of it paying off in a meaningful way. I think a lot of people that like this show and still watch this show probably just really like it for Eve and Villanelle and those performances from Sandra and Jodie Comer, but like, they're even like their cat and mouse thing is completely gone now, and it's kind of like this. It's about like their obsession with each other, and for me, that's always been so like hazy and undefined that it's just kind of a fascinating journey this show has been on. Honestly, 4 showrunners, 4 seasons, and just to see where it started and now where it is, it's just very interesting, but not necessarily for good reasons.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's the sort of thing where it feels like it would have been maybe a really solid 2 season run. Like, but because it's been so successful after that first season, I think they just have been trying to stretch it out as much as possible. And I just have to say I'm very not interested in season 4, but we will most likely watch and update you when we get to the end. Any moments from the first episode that stood out to you? I guess like you mentioned the Villanella's Jesus or God or whatever
Right.
that's supposed to be.
Mhm.
Her also almost killing the person there and then reviving her. I thought was like
Right.
a interesting moment. I don't even know what else. Like what else?
No, it's weird because like you expect the first episode of the 4th season to like set your table a little bit, like how like Marvel's Mrs. Maisel season 4 kicked off, but like I feel like so like not too much happened, but I'm still kind of confused. Like there's like by design like an unexplained amount of time passing, but then we're with Villanelle and all these brand new people we haven't met before, and it just feels like okay, this is just placeholder stuff for Villanelle before she actually gets back to the people we already know, because these people at the church obviously don't matter. So yeah, it's weird, man. I guess I like the beginning with Eve shooting Constantine, even if it really took me for a loop there. And I mean, in general, I just like Comer because the performance here is always so like wide eyed as
Yep.
Villanelle. So I still like watching that, but I mean, the way to land this plane is to get back to the name of the show, get back to the conceit of season 1, which was the titular killing Eve. And I'm just skeptical that they actually are going to go down that road.
I am as well, but we can only hope, and we'll be talking about it as we get there. Let's move on though to HBO, which if you want to watch Jodie Comer be good in something, The Last Duel's on HBO right now, so
Watch that
go watch
shit.
her in that. And if you're on HBO, hopefully you're also watching The Righteous Gemstones because season 2 wrapped up last night, and we talked about the premiere and just how the show feels like it kind of flies under the radar as one of the best comedies on TV. Not that there's a lot of really standout comedies right now, and I think season 2 just further solidified that. And I was really surprised at some of the twists and turns of the season and like the character exploration and growth that came from this season, and just overall was really impressed with uh, the show. I mean, one of the comments we got in our premiere video was about all these like storylines from the end of season 1 that didn't come back for season 2 or kind of just like fell off, and how there's like the continuity issues of it. I don't really have a problem with a comedy taking some liberties with letting some storylines fall to the wayside to get the jokes off or set up certain situations that could be funny. But I do feel like the writing in this show deserves some credit for the way that it just uh, made some of these characters a little more likable and a little bit more fully formed this season. And so I was impressed with that. How about you though? What was your take on season 2?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just impressive that Righteous Gemstones, which in a sense after season 1 has a like familiar trappings as a Danny McBride, Jody Hill, David Gordon Green, you know, dirtbag dude comedy. Like you feel like you understand what that kind of comedy series from those guys is. But Gemstones in season 2 has really like blossomed into still being really funny. But there's a lot of I think solid like dramedy elements going on here, and then just like nods to like genre. Like there's a lot like crime caper stuff is a huge part of Gemstones season 2, and it's super fun and real, and like the plot is enjoyable to see everyone go through this because, as you said, they're really paying things off with these characters and really building up this ensemble. And along the way, it's still really hilarious. So I really don't know how you can quibble with this because I just have such a blast watching the show. And it's great that, like, obviously we know how funny Danny McBride is. We know how funny Adam Devine is. But like Edie Patterson has just absolutely blossomed as a comedic force on this show. And Tim Baltz as well is so good as BJ, her husband. Like I love this cast. And I'm just so in with these creators. It's already been renewed for season 3. I cannot wait to see where it goes. You know, who knows what'll happen. I'm sure they'll maybe bring in another familiar face like they did with Eric Andre this time around. But I mean, I think it's just such a blast to just go through the ups and downs of the Gemstone family, which is I think a great quality because on its face they're unlikable people as asshole privileged megachurch people that take advantage of people uh, who follow them. On its face, you're not supposed to like these people, and you probably still don't like these people. But I really enjoy watching them do what they do.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree with that, and also just wanted to shout out Cassidy Freeman, who's Jesse's wife,
Yeah,
Danny McBride's scene partner in a lot of these, and she was also a revelation this season. And getting John Goodman to really just like star in this season. I mean, it gives everybody the rock for a good amount of time, but this really is like the John Goodman story, really filling in Eli's backstory, where he came from, and how some of his past has come up to cause some problems for him in the present here. And Goodman kills it. I mean, they do a flashback episode where he's supposed to be like 45, and it's like, okay, you are obviously not a 45-year-old John Goodman. But overall, I mean, I think a lot of it was just fantastic, and he can still hit the upper 90s when he needs to. So really enjoyed getting a lot of him this season.
Yeah, like season 1, season 2 has an interlude episode where it's like a big flashback about like your core cast there. I thought this one worked just as well as the last one did too, which I believe was when you got like all the stuff with the mom.
Yeah,
like, for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I hope Skylar Gisondo as Gideon Gemstone stays on the show. One of Jesse's sons, just because he's kind of like a rising, like Hollywood actor. Obviously, he was in Licorice Pizza and a bunch of other stuff. So hopefully he sticks around because watching him just kind of like be the guy kind of outside the family, but still with the family, I think is an important part there. And even if there's like stuff that's like kind of like, superfluous to your plot, more or less, having Kelvin and Keith do all that God Squad stuff is just fucking hilarious, dude. Like just a brilliant idea. And I really like in episode 8 how when Kelvin like kind of like takes back the house, it's an obvious nod to like Jesus cleansing the temple.
Yeah.
In scripture,
No, totally. I was gonna say that was one of. At first, I was very skeptical of that as like a side storyline. I thought it might get played out pretty quickly, but I really think the way that they like not only made it where they have like the incident where the human pyramid falls apart, and then everybody starts questioning him, and then you get Tony Cavallero as Keith stepping in for him because he's injured to carry the cross and just totally failing. I thought all that was just hilarious. Also, just like the whole like this is what happens when you have too many alpha males together. They start eating each other. Like I just thought it was like a great way to frame it. And that was great. Obviously, the stuff with Edie Patterson and Tim Baltz is, they bring in BJ's family. I thought was really hilarious.
Yeah,
so like
secular family.
Yeah, they're mad because even though they're my brothers, they're never gonna have a shot at getting this again. I just the whole confrontation with Edie and BJ's sister was fucking hilarious. I mean, Judy and BJ's sister was hilarious to me. Also, I thought BJ had really nice character arc this season. You know, he was kind of just played off as like the dim-witted, supportive husband for a lot of it, and just kind of being pushed around in the way that you kind of get like the moment where Eli shakes his hand. I thought was really nice. Also, when he's on the beach and he gets shot, and he's like, "It's not that bad." And he takes his hand away, and the blood just comes gushing out of me. Just really got me for some reason.
Wait, did he say I'm part of the family?
Yeah. Is he bargaining for my life right now? So good. Also, shout out to Macaulay Culkin. Really surprising, but I thought like effective and nice cameo. Really, you know, playing baby Billy's son, Harmon, who he just abandons, and Walton Goggins. You know, kind of the forgotten character on the show for a lot of the season. I thought had a nice couple episodes at the end. Him peddling that magic water, you know,
the serum.
It's effective against COVID. Really interesting. So, yeah, the show's great. I mean, if you can get past the fact that kind of like Succession, these are not people that you're going to like, and just kind of enjoy it for the situations and the jokes of it. You know, this is seriously one where you're laughing at the people all the time, so you can enjoy it. But why don't we move on to something that's a little bit less funny, but also on HBO. Euphoria wrapping up last night as well. And you know, Euphoria, when we talked about the premiere, there was a lot that we're interested in. Obviously, they kind of were setting up that this was going to be a big season for Fez, it seemed, and his character arc.
Got the cold open for Fez, kind of acknowledging that he's a bigger part of the series than he had been in season 1.
And you know, I think some of the questions I had about Euphoria, you know, is this going to continue to be a show that's all the style over substance type of deal? I left this season with that question being kind of, you know, the answer to that question being kind of for me, because I do think that Euphoria at times will make choices that are, you know, for shock value or for you know, just because it looks cool. And that's kind of like the Sam Levinson thing at this point. That's kind of just what he is. But I do think some of the storylines brought to a point with Lexi's play at the end added a little bit more substance to the season than I had originally expected. And it really left me very satisfied. How did you feel about season 2?
I agree. I was very satisfied with season 2, and I think the play, Our Life, you know, Lexi's play, that is an acknowledgement from Sam Levinson, who writes everything for the series. That's an acknowledgement from Sam that he is self-aware. He understands what people say about the show. And it's not the first time he's done this. You know, he's kind of broken the fourth wall in a certain sense with literally calling out his critics via John David Washington's dialogue in Malcolm and Marie earlier last year. He's done this before. But I think this is a much more effective use of this kind of idea to kind of present everything that the show is about and everything people think about the show in like this kind of honest, like in your face way with Lexi's play. And I think it's just kind of like a really ballsy thing to do in your series. And, you know, throughout season 2, we stopped getting the traditional cold open about a specific character. We got one about Fez. We got one about Cal. Those are both really great. Then we just stopped getting them at all, as if we kind of didn't need to get them for anyone else, basically. The show got a lot more formless by the end of season 2, and that really impressed me. I think the play is kind of your central organizing thing to kind of bring the show to this point. And, you know, you acknowledged, you know, Fez, kind of like setting up this to be a bigger Fez season. But I was really impressed with Dominic Fike on this show. I actually think Dominic Fike's performance on this is perhaps better than his debut album from 2020, which left me disappointed. I thought he was awesome as Elliot. I was really impressed with his character and just his acting. Yeah. And there was some criticism on Twitter for the fact that his song in the finale was, you know, he did the full song, you know, on the guitar. Meanwhile, you know, Maddie barely gets to beat up Cassie. Like we don't get that, but we get a lot of Elliot's song. I understand that critique, but overall, I was quite impressed with Fike kind of bringing some brand new character to life like that. That was really fun.
Yeah, I agree. And literally, when he played, when he started singing in general, but when we got the full song, I just was like, yeah, this they weren't going to go the season without slipping something in like this. So it is what it is. I agree. I think Fike was great. I think obviously the performances on this are all really, really high level. You think about someone like Sydney Sweeney, who even from the first episode, is just so magnetic and obviously attractive. But the way that her arc as Cassie, just kind of going and um, going and
Spiraling.
trying to spiraling, thank you, um throughout the season, with her relationship with Nate and being caught in this abusive relationship where this guy is saying everything that you want to hear, preying on your insecurities, and literally seeing her physical transformation throughout this season, I thought
Mm.
was amazing. I mean, she goes from being like the most beautiful character on the show to like looking like a clown by the end of the season.
Mm.
um I thought the choice in the final episode by Levinson to have her walk on stage as the character playing her in the play was about to do some like masturbation scene on a carousel horse, and then someone in the crowd to say "show us your boobs," and to basically acknowledge like the grotesque nudity that really isn't like necessary
Right.
for her this season. I thought was at least an acknowledgement of maybe
Yeah.
some of the choices that didn't work this season. And I really just think that final look that she gives when she's talking with uh, Maddie about
Yeah.
how Nate broke up with her, and she's like, "Yep, this is just the beginning for you." And like that face is just like so perfect, and you're just like, "Wow, this is one of the most talented up and coming actresses I feel like in Hollywood." Really was
Yeah.
impressed with her.
Oh yeah. Well, she was also awesome in White Lotus, doing a completely
Right.
different performance. I think if you look under the hood, Sydney Sweeney's not just a pretty face; she's definitely talented. Even the small role in Big Time Adolescence, I think she's proven herself like
Oh
as a
yeah.
performer by now. Um, yeah. I mean, after she gets exposed for like being with Nate and kind of betraying Maddie, I love that scene where she's having the breakdown at home. She's like, "I'm not the bad guy," and then Lexi just matter of factly, "Well, you're not the good guy either." Such good
Yeah.
shit. I
Um,
wanted more Alexa Demi this season. I just love her as Maddie. I think the line readings she does, the performance is like super fine tuned. It's really good.
yep.
I mean, obviously, big meme from the bathroom scene early in the season. Bitch, you better be joking.
Hmm.
Just perfect. And I understand why people were like, no, we want to see more of that fallout, you know, of this friendship deteriorating due to
Hmm.
really what Cassie got up to. She obviously has a lot of culpability with how that went.
I
But
really loved all the stuff between Alexa Demi and Minka Kelly this season.
yes,
And Minka Kelly,
what
what a comeback
what another
for
casting.
her.
Bringing Minka Kelly in.
And apparently, she wasn't even supposed to really have that many scenes, maybe like one or two. And they just had such good chemistry. And Minka Kelly was just giving such a great performance. They wrote in some more scenes, especially that like scene in the pool with her.
Yeah, totally.
I thought was really great. You mentioned the stuff with Cal and Eric Dane this season, and I thought that cold open in that whole, I think it was episode 4, when they look at Cal's life and just like the secrecy and the abuse and
Mhm.
all of that. And I just thought that was one of the strongest episodes of the season for me. Um, how did that land for you?
Yeah, I thought that was really great. And just in general, everything with Cal and Nate this season, I'm glad that we got the resolution that we did in the finale, because I feel like the Nate character now needs to just have other things to do, other things to explore. And like now that Cal's out of the picture, like the purposes of Cal in Euphoria have been served through 2 seasons. So I'm glad that that call was made. But I think everything there is really good. The only thing that I was thinking about a lot more recently was Nate isn't as like overtly villainous and cartoonish almost like he was in season 1. Still has a lot of menace to him, which
Definitely.
I think gives credit to Jacob Elordi as like this like kind of big hulking man. You know, he can seems to play it really well. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in season 3 with Nate, because everything with Nate this time around was more about like his internalized trauma and his struggle with his own psyche and shit, you know. And now that Cal's gone, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. But they did a really good job of building out Cal as an antagonist in his own right. You know, I think really satisfying early on when you watch him get fucking pistol whipped by Ashtray, you know, and but everything there was good. So I think it sets up interesting possibilities for Nate as well.
I'm extremely confused. You're confused, bro. I'm fucking confused. Another great TikTok sound. All right, so we haven't really talked too much about Zendaya and Rue. How did you feel about Rue's arc this season?
Yeah, I mean, when Rue's going through it, she's not like a fun hang at all, dude. Can't stand her at times.
Oh yeah,
I think that's not saying too much. Zendaya's really great when Rue is completely on one, tearing down her family when she's, you know, tweaking. And then later when she has like her mad dash to escape the police throughout town. I mean, that's like really thrilling. And beforehand, when she's with her family, it's really gutting. Like Zendaya is incredible in this performance. Already won an Emmy, you know, setting record as the youngest winner for drama lead actress. But I think there's just times where it's like, man, like, Rue, get your shit together. I'd rather watch like toxic teenagers like Maddie instead. Sometimes I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, we've talked about this in other shows that explore addiction, but you know, the ups and downs of addiction are just so gutting in general, and it really makes the characters super hard to hang when a show explores those ups and downs continuously, which is realistic, but just also really hard. I do feel like I felt like that I saw a lot about episode 5, which certainly there's some awesome TV moments, awesome filmmaking moments in general, and that Zendaya is great. The episode I didn't like that one as much. I actually really liked a lot of the stuff in the episode afterwards, where she's kind of like narrating a lot of the fallout, talking about you know, when Ali comes over to make dinner, and her sister, and that conversation her mom has with Ali, and then kind of has with Rue at the end. Like, if I have to choose between one dead daughter or two, I'm going to choose one. And like, just like super relatable, you know, that she does the thing where she like cuts to talk about Jules and is like, actually, let's not talk about Jules, and just kind of like skips past it. I thought that was great. And actually, I think she got a lot of credit for her acting in that episode, but I think the best Zendaya acting of the whole thing is the final episode where her and Lexi are having the conversation on the floor. It's like by far the most emotional, and just like blown away by Zendaya every time she can reach into her bag and pull this out. I'm just like, man, this might be the next like Meryl Streep, dude. Like,
I mean, even when she's listening to Elliot's song, it's just her face, and she's so emotive. Like, that just speaks to how talented she is. She's like, watch her act without saying anything or moving. She's literally just standing there, and it's so expressive. You know, it's almost like effortless for like. I think like when we're watching the play and Rue's sitting in the seat watching it, and she's like really like reacting to things that happen and stuff. I feel like that shit's so easy for Zendaya just to be like super expressive.
Yeah, and
but it goes so far.
Yeah, and to do it in a way that's not only like moving but also funny. Like the look that when she makes eye contact, or when she sees Cassie about to enter in the final into the auditorium and have her meltdown, the face she makes is just like laugh out loud hilarious. Just like, ooh, like, this is not going to be good. Also, just really want to give Maude Apatow a lot of credit. I feel like the build out of Lexi as a character this season, the use of her as a way to acknowledge Rue's trauma and to like bring that friendship back together, as obviously it's setting up, I think, a Lexi kind of arc with Rue, hopefully in a supportive way for her. And I think really recentering the show, you know, and like what the show is about, and how instead of it being about the stylistic choices of how you portray these kids partying and using substances to like deal with their trauma, kind of like exploring it more through like the friendships and how they get each other through the trauma together rather than how they try to escape it. I thought was just a really nice way to like end the season and set us up for what seems like it's going to be a really great third season. I'm totally in on Euphoria from here on out.
Oh yeah, totally. In the process, bringing more people in, spending time with people that we didn't spend a lot of time with last time, like Fez and Lexi. In the process, that means there's people that kind of get the short end of the stick here. Obviously, Kat is probably gets the worst of it. And reportedly, if you check the Daily Beast's report on this, Barbie Ferreira had some on-set altercations with Levinson, stormed off set more than once. So seemed to be some disagreements about the character there, which is interesting to hear because most of the cast through 2 seasons have been really high in their praise for Levinson and how he lets them like internalize and work with their characters and stuff. So and even Jules isn't in this season as much as you'd think, and when she is around, it's really just directly her relationship with Rue and reacting to things with Rue. And I don't know if I would have expected that as much after how successful the Euphoria Jules special was that we got, during COVID. I'm curious to see what happens with Jules moving forward because it seemed like Rue was not interested in keep resurrecting the relationship at the end of the finale here. Obviously, that can change, but Hunter Schafer has been a big part of the show thus far, so that'd be a choice to like sideline her moving forward, or even have her, go off the show.
I think if I don't know how many more seasons this is going to go. I have to imagine Levinson's probably going to want to do other stuff. I don't know if these actors want to keep doing this because they're all going upwards. So I wouldn't be surprised if season 3 ends up being the last season. I think if it's exploring Rue's sobriety, she really can't be in a relationship with Jules, at least not right now. Kind of the same way she said to Dominic Fike, like,
yeah,
you're the one that said, yeah, we're not good for each other. So it's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah, the show has more than doubled its viewers from season 1 to 2 when you count like re-airings and stuff. Like the season 2 premiere has over 17 million viewers. Like the show is huge, and it's a huge streaming show too. 80% of its viewers are watching this on HBO Max. For context, like Mayor of Easttown and White Lotus was like 50 to 60%. So it's a huge streaming show. It's a huge show in general. You can see that online. I think HBO would love to keep this going, but and Zendaya is a producer on this, so she might have some vested interest in keeping it going too. But it is going to get to the point where they're not exactly going to look like high school kids anymore. I believe Alexa Demi is like almost 30 as it is. She's actually a lot older than she looks already. So on the other hand, it'd be sick to see them go to college. I don't know if they're going to go there, but that'd be cool.
We'll see. We'll be talking about it. Any last thoughts, or you ready to move on?
No, let's go.
Let's go to Cyrano. Let's go to our guy Cyrano. Cyrano de Bergerac, at your service, the one and only.
My guy.
Man, this is the father, right? The 2022 version of the father, 2021 version of the father, a movie that's been talked about for awards, but kind of being released very close, wide release, very close to the actual Oscars. And so a lot of buzz for this. We're finally seeing it. Dave, did Cyrano live up to the hype for you?
Yeah, like you said, a long time coming, right? I think the key difference, though, is the father came out from Sony Pictures Classics, who are much more experienced in this kind of like late season awards push. United Artists put out Cyrano after delaying it several times, and I think it definitely just kind of missed its mark, missed its timing. You can see that in the box office. I just think this movie should have come out sooner. But there's still a lot of anticipation for it, as you said. And I did enjoy it. I didn't really know too much of like where this one's supposed to go. There's a lot of like Cyrano de Bergerac beats people are familiar with, whether they know the name or not, just because the original, stage adaptation has been done many times, and also it's kind of been done in derivative fashion many times as well. So it's like the core plot mechanics people are pretty familiar with, but this of course is a musical version of it, doing something different, adapting the recent 2018 musical version of Cyrano. So obviously I haven't seen that play. I also haven't seen any of the other past works, so just going in with an open mind, and I did enjoy it. I think the best parts about it would be Dinklage's performance as Cyrano, obviously, but also just really impressive production design. This was shot in Sicily and has a lot of wow moments going on. But it's probably going to be perhaps a tougher sell to some people because the music here from the National, from the Dessners, not exactly like what you think of Rodgers and Hammerstein show tunes when you think of musical songs. It's much more somber, emotional shit.
Yeah. Yeah. The music was interesting because I felt like it kind of like came and went, and it didn't truly commit to the musical aspect. It kind of
Yeah,
was, it picked its
a lot of
spots.
choruses. It's like verses and like it's like talking in song almost. It's
Yeah.
differently different.
Obviously, trying to use some of the dialogue from the adaptation in a musical way, which is some of it worked, some of it didn't. I thought like the soldier song,
Yeah,
if we die here, this is
wherever I
heaven.
fall.
Yeah,
That
we're
was
right.
that was
That was a
good.
great one. That was a really really great musical moment. Some of the other stuff not so much, but um, like you, I went in with an open mind. I had heard of the play. I didn't really know much about it, but I hadn't seen any of the adaptations. In reading about it, I do think it's interesting that the choice in this is to have a Peter Dinklage play as a short person rather than a person with a big nose as the like deformity or whatever makes him unattractive to a typically traditional person. And I definitely loved Dinklage's performance in this. I thought he was by far the most compelling part. You get a couple other big name people here. Ben Mendelsohn, I thought, just in a very like villainous role, almost like
he does that in his sleep at this point.
Yeah, and he was fine. I just didn't really think he like did anything spectacular in this. I didn't really like the performance of Christian, played by Calvin Harrison. Just kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, tough from Calvin Harrison Jr. because he's been getting shots up, man. He's really good actor, but his presence is. It's almost like he has to be uncharismatic for how the Christian character is written, and in the process, he's just a lot less compelling than Cyrano is. So tough stuff there, I think.
Definitely some tough stuff, and I thought Haley Bennett was fine, and so I kind of like was like, there's some stuff here for this to be a movie that I really liked, and I just didn't end up liking it all that much. I don't know what it was. It looked great. I think there's some really like fun moments, but overall, I felt like the movie just kind of like was missing something. I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it.
Well, I feel like the best parts about it's more about moments. Like I think early on when you have that theater scene when Cyrano like kicks out the other actor, that scene I think is awesome. The crowd is like super energetic. He has that fencing duel, really rapid fire dialogue, almost Hamilton-esque in its familiarity. Thought that scene was good. Dinklage is absolutely incredible when he's talking to Roxanne, thinks she's about to profess her love to him and realize no, she's about to tell him about Christian.
Yeah.
The run of emotions that you see on Dinklage's face as he's talking to Roxanne there is really good. You have the scene, probably one of the more famous scenes too from this play, this story, the balcony scene. Where Cyrano tells Christian what to say and then starts speaking himself, basically. Emotional moments there. And then, as we said, the stuff with the soldiers at the very end when they're like fighting the Spanish. Production design's incredible there. They literally made that on a fucking volcano. Like it looks so good. You get that national song, which is like super haunting and dark. I like all that stuff following the Christian death scene. But like those are like what four distinct moments, and everything else is like kind of like like weirdly melodramatic, but still kind of inert to me. And I think because I like the production design so much and Dinklage is so good, I can like get over it. But yeah, it's almost like it's like it just has like some beats to it and everything else, and it's kind of like a little more meh on like the side plots with like Ben Mendelsohn as like the villain. It's just not as interesting as anything else going on. So yeah, I think it's definitely like up and down, but like those highs I think are like really really well done. And just kind of I think shout out to Joe Wright for like having the vision to like adapt this. He's a really interesting director because he has such amazing highs and such lows as well. His most recent movie was The Woman in the Window, which was really bad. But then to just immediately rush into making Cyrano in the middle of COVID and actually having it, I think, turn out the way it did, it's still kind of impressive to me, even if I don't think the movie is 100% successful.
Yeah, you mentioned Dinklage and those moments that really stood out. I think he is just like the driving force behind this, and um, I struggle with like, is this Oscar worthy? Obviously, it wasn't nominated to the performance, but I think it was probably up there, probably a top
Yeah.
10 performance of the year. It was nominated at the Golden Globes for musical,
Yeah.
performance by a male lead in a musical or comedy.
It's
And
his best role post Thrones for sure.
yeah, it also feels like Halle Bennett. I mean, you mentioned Calvin Harris Jr., the guy who will certainly have a successful career, but it feels like Halle Bennett, really good look for her. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of like other things. I mean, she's in Hillbilly Elegy, I guess, but
Right.
I think everybody in that probably doesn't want to talk about that anymore.
Well,
The Devil All the Time, also. So
right. Yeah,
I like.
she's around for sure. It's actually kind of funny how Cyrano is such a family affair because the 2018 musical version was created by Erica Schmidt, and Erica Schmidt is Dinklage's wife. And Dinklage, of course, performed in that musical alongside Halle Bennett, who is Joe Wright's uh, partner and uh, mother of his child. So it's just kind of funny how like all these connections kind of came to a fore to get this made. But I think what Erica did when she made this version of Cyrano, replacing Cyrano Bergerac's ugliness, like with a big nose, with him being a short person, I think is really smart to improve, I think, the audience reception to the Cyrano character, because I think it's a lot easier to sympathize with Cyrano's insecurities because they're a lot more believable that he would be so insecure despite how capable and talented he actually is. I think it's like that kind of messaging, I think, is really effective. And I think if you take this and you watch one of the other Cyranos with like Kevin Kline or Christopher Plummer or whatever, I haven't seen these, but like I have to think this just might emotionally hit just a little better than someone who's disappointed because his nose is big. So having Peter Dinklage, a world class performer, bring all that, with him goes a long way too. But I think that was a really important choice, and perhaps a choice that only can be made for if you're getting Dinklage to be Cyrano after all. So,
I was gonna say, if you can get Dinklage to play the role, that's a smart choice. If not, I get it. But man, I don't know. I think that I mean, is there any more thoughts for you on this? I kind of left just kind of being like, didn't really impress me much.
I gotta say, we mentioned "Wherever I Fall," which is the Soldiers song at the end. I like this something to say, something to say, somewhere to say, something to say reprise, like that second time they sing it, which is in the trailer. Something about that, like when they all sing it and you have like the background like vocals too, and like Christian singing it too. Like I'm not a national guy. I'm not a fan of the Dustiners, but like I don't know. Like I actually really enjoy that track.
Yeah, they if you didn't know that they did this soundtrack, you would figure it out pretty quickly because it sounds like the National wrote these songs. So,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that the music had its moments. Like, it kind of like the rest of the movie. Like, there were moments when it worked really well. Moments where I just was like, boy, this
Right.
is tough.
Yeah.
It almost like didn't commit enough to everything. I guess
Mhm.
almost kind of like it wasn't quite Shakespeare, wasn't quite a stage adaptation. It was kind of like in the middle of everything. It felt like
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Still worth the watch. I'd say check it out. 2.4 million at the box office. That's so sad. Need to
Yeah.
get people out and see this stuff.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of people were talking like they should have at least come out during Valentine's Day weekend.
Yes.
Like at the latest, because this was supposed to come out in late January. They kept pushing it back due to Omicron or fear of Spider-Man. But like with adult dramas, as we know, like it's hard to get the people that are going to watch these movies out to the box office right now. So you can't like fuck up your marketing and your release, and they fucked it up.
Yeah, well, they're really gonna fuck it up because this is gonna have no tail, no life, no shelf life because the Batman comes out just next week. So,
That's right.
God. Anyways, what else are we gonna be talking about next week other than the Batman?
So I just want to know EarthGang is coming out in theaters starting Friday as well. I'm sure that's a limited release from A24. We've already talked about that due to Sundance, so check that out if you do get to see EarthGang. Obviously, Matthew Reeves' The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, is finally coming out, which will take over the box office from Spider-Man and dominate for the next month at least, because there's not a lot of other movies coming out in March. But we also get HBO's Showtime Lakers show, Winning Time, from Adam McKay coming out. And on Hulu, the latest run in these kind of like historical adaptations in the vein of Ryan Murphy. We get The Dropout, the Amanda Seyfried starring Elizabeth Holmes Hulu miniseries. So, and some other stuff coming as well. But The Batman and Winning Time, I think, are two hotly anticipated things that we'll get to.
Can't wait to talk about them. SoundCloud.com/nostalgiapod is the old school way to find us. You now want to find us at youtube.com/nostalgiapod and give us that 5-star rating on Spotify. Catch you next week.